All right, so Parsha Korach. The Torah portion for Korach begins pretty much with the rebellion that takes place by Korach, and then some others, and several of the children of Reuben. So we have to ask ourselves why in that case. But Korach, as a word, means to divide or to cause division. So something else that's talked about kind of in a smaller fashion towards the end is the giving of the offerings for the firstborn and that kind of thing. But Korach seems to be the main thrust of the Torah portion, and it's a very important reminder for us. Why do we remember Korach when the Torah tells us that we should not even utter the remembrance or utter the name of someone who has done evil? So let's consider what Korach brings to us. And we're going to start this Torah portion, of all places, by looking at Proverbs 10:7. It says, "The memory of the righteous shall be for a blessing, but the name of the wicked shall decay." In other words, the name of the wicked will be forgotten. So why do we remember wickedness? Why do we remember wicked people? What is the reminder in this Torah portion for us? Is it a reminder so much of wickedness, or is it basically a reminder or something that is prodding us to look at another aspect of our lives within the community, the kahila, the congregation? So, considering this verse, why is there an entire Torah portion named after a man that caused the deaths of thousands of people because of his wicked acts? Okay, it says over 14,000 people died because of this rebellion thing. So let's take a look. We'll start at Bamidbar at Numbers 16, 1 through 3. And we're going to take a second to kind of look at verse 1 a little bit, and then we'll go on with the other ones. But it says, "Now Korah, the son of Ishtar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, with Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the sons of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took men." Okay? And let's go on. "And they rose up in the face of Moses with certain of the children of Israel, 250 men. They were chiefs of the congregation, the elect men of the assembly, men of renown. And they assembled themselves together against Moses and against Aaron, and said to them, You take too much upon yourselves, seeing that the congregation, all of the congregation, is set apart to this specific purpose, every one of them, and Yahuwah is among them. Why then do you lift yourselves up above the assembly of Yahuwah?" Okay, so it's not so much an attack. We're going to find it's not so much an attack on Moses as it is an attack on Aaron specifically, because Korach's desire is to be amongst the high priest. Okay, but let's take a look at this verse 1. Let's deconstruct it a little bit. It says, "Now Korach, the son of Ishtar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi." Okay, we'd look at that and we'd say, I don't want to read all those names. I want to move on to something that has a little bit more oomph to it. I don't want to get stuck in all these genealogies. Okay, but if we consider the idea of son, ben is the word, from the roots bana, that means to restore or to establish, we can consider something that is going to be established. So Korach, like I said, means rebellion. It means division. The son of Ishtar. Now Ishtar is an interesting name. Basically, it means to squeeze or to crush in order to bring out clean oil. Okay, Zar, when we read it in Brit Hadashah, is a word that's used for tribulation. Okay, kind of like thalipsis is the Greek equivalent that also means tribulation. So here we have that division establishes tribulation by and through Kohath, that means whatever we ally ourselves to, whatever we attach ourselves to. Okay? The sons of Levi, that is established and is joined to whatever it is that does this. So what do we have here is that division comes from pressure. And the pressure causes the assembly to join itself to the division. Does that make sense? Okay? Why do churches split? Why do congregations split? Because of pressure from one group into another group that causes ill feelings and they fall apart. I've got a friend that's a pastor of a congregation, and they just went through this mess, and they went from close to 100 people to 9. Okay, so we're going to learn some important things in this Torah portion about the community and the functioning of the community. When I say kahila, or community, it's the same thing as saying congregation. Okay, we have a little community here, not necessarily a congregation. We could call ourselves a congregation, but it's a community. Okay, so a group of leaders from among the children of Israel have concluded amongst themselves that they do not agree with Moses and Aaron being in the positions that they are in, because the whole congregation is kadosh. They're all set apart to a specific purpose, to Yahuwah. In essence, the question is, what makes you so special that you should be the ones leading the congregation? Okay, I have issues. I'm in leadership, and I should call the shots, and there's a certain congresswoman that has confused her role in Congress, and she made a statement. She says, "You people need to sit down and be quiet because we're in charge," and that's not it. I mean, the people are in charge, and so in a congregation, everybody looks to the pastor. Oh, the pastor's all that and a bag of potato chips, and he's in charge of everything. But the pastor really isn't in charge. He's there to guide. Just like the rabbi. He's not there to be in charge. He's there to guide, to give advice, to lead. And then we have other people that handle other areas. But we'll get to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, they're all bent out of shape because they see Aaron and Moses as the ones that are leading the congregation. This rebellion, however, is pointed more specifically at Aaron as Kohen Hagadol than it is at Moses. In this, the rebels want to take the job of the Kohanim, and so, in verses 4 through 7, Moses proposes a challenge to them so that Yahuwah will make the choice as to who is to serve before him and who is not to. This is how it should be, and in the book of Vayikra, everything is specifically laid out. You read the book of Leviticus, it tells you who has what jobs, and the Levites are all split down into families of Levites, and some take care of the poles of the tabernacle, and some take care of the tarps and the tents, and some take care of the furniture, and some take care of, everybody has a role. The Levites are there to support the Kohanim. The Kohanim cannot serve the people without the help of the Levites. You go to a concert and you want to watch the performers. Well, the performers aren't going to do anything unless the road crew is there to set everything up. Okay? So, this is how it should be. Vayikra lays everything out specifically. So consider what Moses says to the rebellious Levites in verse 7. And put therein and put fire therein, and put incense upon them before Yahuwah tomorrow. And it shall be that the man whom Yahuwah does choose, he shall be set apart. You take too much upon you, you sons of Levi. So what he's saying is, tomorrow everybody bring a fire pan, and we're going to put incense in it, and the person who's left alive is the one who's actually supposed to be doing this, literally, okay? Now, it didn't go too well for Nahab and Abihu. So We know from reading of Vayikra that only the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron, could offer incense in a censer before Yahuwah. And we also know from Vayikra that if it's done incorrectly, it can lead to death, as in the case of Nadab and Abihu, who offered strange fire in the censers before Yahuwah. What Moses is telling these rebellious Levites is that they think more of themselves than they should. In Vayikra, every Levite household was given a service to perform concerning the tabernacle. For example, carrying the utensils, taking down or erecting the tabernacle, transporting the tabernacle. All of the Levites had a service to perform, and this poses a question. Am I dissatisfied with what Yahuwah my Elohim has called me specifically to do with and within my life? Okay? We could actually kind of tweak that a little bit. Am I dissatisfied with what Yahuwah my Elohim has called me specifically to do and in and within the community that I serve? Okay? So we all serve here. Okay? I serve in one way. Naomi serves in one way. Mickey, Ed, everyone serves. Miss Dot serves in a specific function. Okay? So we read in Kings that when David was moving the ark, that someone not associated with the house of Levites, tasked with carrying the ark, touched it to support it so that it wouldn't fall. The guy was doing something noble. He didn't want the ark to fall off the cart. So he reaches up and he touches it to stabilize it, and this person is immediately struck dead. Okay? So this should emphasize how specific the callings of the Levites were. If you're not supposed to touch the ark, but you're supposed to handle the candlesticks, stick to handling the candlesticks, because someone else is supposed to handle the ark. Okay? So we can see that what Korach was wanting was not the desire of Yahuwah. He had appointed Aaron and his sons to be the Kohanim. Okay? It was a carnal desire to be recognized as something more than what he was appointed to be. Now we're getting to something that we can really look at more deeply to understand. Keep in mind, it was a carnal desire to be something more than what he was appointed to be, because we'll come back to that. A congregation is a single living entity composed of its parts, its vital organs that give it life. Each individual part has a specific calling by Yahuwah Elohim. We take a big toe for granted, but it's the big toe that actually stabilizes us so that we can stand the way we want to stand. Okay? We take those small things for granted. Okay? But this is what Paul has to say in Corinthians. It says, now you are the body of Mashiach, and several members thereof, and Elohim has set some in the congregation. First apostles, second prophet, thirdly teachers, then miracles, then gifts of healing, helps, governments, diverse kinds of tongues. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? Have all the gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? Okay? No. Nobody can do, everybody has their spot. And everybody has their gift. And everybody has that calling that they've been given within the congregation. I sit up here and teach. But I would be absolutely useless as far as going, managing the bills for the congregation. Okay? That's what, Bruce and Chester are there to handle that part. This couldn't function without people bringing gifts. We couldn't start without Ed blowing the shofar. We wouldn't be able to have more cinnamon challah without Mickey. Okay? Everybody has something. We would know absolutely nothing about Miss Ball's chutney without Lorraine. Okay? So, everybody functions. All right? A congregation is composed of many specific parts, and all of these parts contribute to the wellness of the congregation. No one part is better than another. They exist to support one another. So when Korach says you think too much of yourselves, no, Moses and Aaron don't think too much of themselves. Moses didn't want the job to start with, but he's stuck like Chuck because he's got to do it, because he's met Elohim face to face, and he knows the consequences of not doing what he's called to do. Okay? So Paul goes on in Ephesians and he says, and he gave some to be apostles and some prophets and some evangelists and some pastors and some teachers for the perfecting of righteousness towards the work of ministering and to the building up of the body of Mashiach. It takes a lot of different talents to make a community work. So just as Elohim appointed the Levites and the Kohanim, he's appointed and called out to individuals in the congregation to do specific jobs so that each supports and contributes to the success of the other. In most synagogues, there's a rabbi to teach and to minister to the congregation, and next to his office is the synagogue president, sometimes called the Gabbai, who acts as the administrator, paying the bills and making sure that all the support systems are in place, like building maintenance and other support systems. Okay? Christian congregation is the same thing. It's structured the same way. You have the pastor that cares for the congregation, feeds them the word of Yahuwah, and a church administrator takes care of the bills and support. There are teachers. All this stuff in both synagogues and Christian congregations. There's teachers. There are people that administer. There are people that go out and visit people in hospitals. There are people charged with bringing food. Everybody has a function. Okay? So, Paul does ask, and we have to take it seriously in light of the Torah portion, are all apostles, are all prophets, are all teachers, are all workers of miracles, have all gifts of healing, do all speak with tongues, do all interpret? We have to consider that the answer is no. Use the pastor as an example. It takes a very special type of person to pastor. There's statistics. 70% of pastors battle depression. 97% of pastors have been hurt by their own congregations. 80% of pastors feel discouraged. 90% of pastors report working in excess of 55 hours a week. Okay? Now, I choose the pastor as an example so we can better understand Moses and Aaron's role in the rebellion. They were specifically appointed by Yahuwah Elohim to do the jobs that they were doing. We read in Shemot that Moses would sit and listen to the people's problems from morning until evening every single day, until Jethro comes and straightens them out and says, dude, you need to appoint some people, find 70 people that you trust and line them out to take on the smaller matters, and whatever they don't understand, bring it to you. Okay? So Moses and Aaron had led the people out of Egypt, but along the way they listened to the people complain the entire way. They gave the people drink when the people complained. They encouraged the people to cross over the Jordan, and then they remained with them when they refused to do so. Moses placed his own life between Yahuwah and the people when Elohim wanted to destroy them, not once, but a number of occasions, including this Torah portion. In fact, in this Torah portion, Elohim tells Moses, get out of the way. You and Aaron, move out of the way. I am going to blot them out. And Moses gets on his face before Elohim and says, if you're going to do that, you're going to have to take me out with them. Okay? We started this together. We're going to move on together. Okay? Someone in the role to lead would put himself before his congregation. Korach is not interested in putting himself before the congregation. He's interested in the power that he can have to control. Okay? And that's what brings division. All right, so let's see. Place his own life, okay, including this Torah portion. Yet in this Torah portion, he's being called what amounts to a power-hungry dictator. Are people who accuse and put down what Elohim has set in place people that Yahuwah would allow to replace Moses? Would Yahuwah Elohim really place someone like Korach in a leadership position if Korach's heart is bent on that kind of thing. Do we have another example of this in Yahusha's, let's call it Yahusha's structure and the administration of his kahila, okay? He wasn't just a ragtag mob of people that followed him around. If we read the Bazorah, if we read the Gospels, we're going to find within the Gospels that we had someone who was actually in charge of finding food, because he asked Philip to go into town to find bread to feed all these people. There was somebody who was in charge of the money, Judas Iscariot. Okay? So he knew that when he got up to leave, they all thought that he was going out to go do something because that was what he was charged with doing. Okay? But Judas ended up being an example of Korach in this, and that Judas wanted to push power to force it to do what he wanted to do, as opposed to understanding what had been appointed to be done. Okay? We say that Judas actually wanted to cause a rebellion, and in the arrest of Yahusha, then he thought, well, the people are going to rise up, and they're going to storm wherever he's being held, and they're going to want to rescue him by force, and they're going to overcome the Roman 10th Legion, and we're all going to be delivered from Rome, right? So we see that when someone is misdirected, or when someone is working from a carnal perspective and not a spiritual perspective, that this desire to either have the power or to influence the power overrides the understanding of what is actually going on in the congregation. So are people who accuse and put down what Elohim has set in place what Yahuwah would allow to replace Moses. This is in essence what Moses is asking Korach and his Levite co-conspirators in verses 8 through 10. And Moses said to Korach, "Hear now, you sons of Levi. Is it but one small thing to you that Elohim, the Elohim of Israel, has separated you from the congregation of Israel to bring you near to himself, to do the service of the tabernacle of Yahuwah, and to stand before the congregation to minister to them? And that he has brought you near, and all of your brethren, the sons of Levi, with you, and would you seek the priesthood also?" He says, do you not understand that Yahuwah, your Elohim, has set you apart to minister to this congregation with such an important task of maintaining the tabernacle, the very structure where the Shekinah of Elohim comes? You're charged with keeping that in order. Is that enough? Is that not enough? You also want to be the Cohen? Okay? You also want to be the Cohen. Let's think about another episode that happens in Acts. The apostles start to get so tied down in serving people at the tables that they are not able to fully function as the teachers that they're supposed to be. So what do? They find people that will take on the responsibility of maintaining and serving at the tables so that they can teach. Okay? Now, teaching, they were directly associated with Yahusha, so they know quite a bit. The people that are serving are people that are still learning, but people that are serving also have the responsibility of serving the people and reaching out to the people and ministering to the people and making sure that the apostles can do what they're called to do. It's the same thing. Without the Levites, the Kohanim are useless. Okay? So, saying, you don't understand that what you've been assigned to is infinitely important. The Kohanim can't do anything without you, but you would want to set everything up and be the Kohen as well. You know, it's like we go back to the rock star. You know, the rock star drives his little road van, and he gets there, and instead of having someone that sets everything up, he goes and he sets everything up, and by the end of setting everything up, he's exhausted, and now he's got to go out and sing his songs. It's the same thing. The Levites go and they set everything up, and they make sure everything's clean and everything's set perfectly so that the Kohanim can do what they're supposed to do. Everyone in the congregation, everyone in the community supports one another. Okay? So Yahuwah Elohim has given everyone here for this study a particular job within this kahila, within this community. And we must not concern ourselves with how the other person does their calling. We must strive to become the best we can be at what Yahuwah, our Elohim, has called and positioned us to do. Chapter 18 talks about the gifts and the tithes that the people are to pay. So let's consider this beyond the idea of money, because whenever you hear gifts and tithes, in the modern sense, everybody, ooh, all money. The word for gift is matana, that has nothing to do with a tithe or an offering of money. This word means a gift, and a gift, as we've learned, can be a gift given to an individual to equip him or her in the service of the congregation or of humankind as a whole. We have to be willing to offer our gifts in our service of one another. This chapter also speaks of the tithe that was given to the Levite and the tithe that the Levite is to give to Elohim. And again, we have to consider this beyond the idea of money. The word for tithe is ma'asar, that means a tenth. Now, if we consider the letter yod, from its ancient concept of an arm with a hand, we see a meaning of strength. So we have to be willing to bring our best and strongest points in caring for and supporting the congregation and those who minister to the congregation. Who ministers to the congregation? Everybody. Okay? I don't stand up here and bump my gums. I'm not ministering to you, ooh, I'm the guru and all that stuff. No. I am simply the fingernail on the pinky. Okay? I can't do anything without the pinky. And that's the way it is. Okay? But I have to give my strength. I have to be willing to give that back to Elohim, just like all of you give your strength back to Elohim in your service of the kahila. Okay? So those that minister to the congregation must give their best and their strongest points for caring and supporting those that they minister to. Yet for these there are additional instructions found in verse 32 and the consequences for not fulfilling this instruction. And you will bear no sin by reason of it, seeing that you have set apart from it the best thereof. And you shall not profane the things set apart of the children of Israel, that you not die. And this is an instruction given to the Levite, or to the Cohen actually. Okay? You're to bear no sin. Well, is that possible? No. But you should be aware of what is and what is not. Because you have been set apart to a specific purpose to be your best, to minister to the congregation as a whole. Not to profane the things set apart of the children of Israel, that you don't die. Whatever you receive, you are to treasure that. You're not to profane, to put off whatever you receive back from the children of Israel. Be grateful for it so that you don't die. Okay? It's a serious offense. Okay? So we could just lay this on the Levite or the Cohen, that they must respect and take great care of their dedication to the congregation. If they fail to act in the way that their calling specifies, it can cost them their lives. That's pretty harsh. Back, you consider the Cohen has got to be so dedicated to the congregation that if he's not dedicated in the right way, it cost him his life. Or if he ministers in the wrong way, like Nahab and Abihu, it can also cost them their lives. But the word used for not to bear sin in this verse is aliv, which is a commandment to not do something, as opposed to lo, which is a recommendation not to do something. Okay? There's a commandment not to profane the things of the congregation. However, it begins with the word lo in this verse, as if to say, lo is that word that gives you the choice to do something or not to do something. So it is your choice to heed the command not to bear sin or not. So here we can consider that this is spoken to those charged with the worship service and the teaching